Hi, everybody. This is Lenny Murphy with GreenBook Blog, and I am joined today to discuss one of the more interesting announcements that was made this week, which was Gongos Research launching a new division called O2, which I take to be the natural evolution of going from market research into big data analytics. So I'm joined by two guests, Jason Raguso, who is going to be leading that effort, and Camille, the CEO of Gongos. So Camille, why don't you talk us through a little bit what kind of led the company to this decision and what your vision is of the future from here?
Sure. Thanks for having us today. So as a business, we are constantly looking at what our core competencies are, and we're very aware of what those core competencies are, and then how can we use those to be adding value to our clients in new ways. And the launch of O2 is very much in line with that. And I'll explain that first by starting with the fact that I know when this press release about Gongos creating this new business unit went out, the headlines read big data. And for us, this is not an entrance into big data. I mean, what does big data really mean anyway? For us, this is looking at the areas of being able to effectively and persuasively communicate information, communicate insights, as well as taking disparate data sources, synthesizing those, and coming up with clear direction for our clients. So big data isn't really the path that we feel like we're going down. This is our entrance into, or maybe what we would like to call, the idea of helping the industry move into or beyond research and into the area of decision intelligence for our clients. And that means, moving from being pure data collectors to really thinking about having a point of view. So away from what's the best method when a client approaches us to helping them come up with learning plans and going from having a specific answer to a question to really helping them learn along the way. So that is sort of the impetus for why we started this new business unit and where we hope to go with it.
Oh, thank you for the clarification. It's easy to jump on the big data bandwagon when you see this type of news. But so let's talk about the data synthesis for a minute then. What are the and Jason, this may be a better question for you, but I'll throw it to you, Camille, for at least initially. What are the types of data sources that you anticipate rolling into the practice area around O2?
So, Lenny, it's a very good question. And the spirit of analytics really is to approach the problem holistically and not really think specifically about the individual question that's being asked, but what's the broader business problem that you're trying to address, and what are all the relevant data sources? So oftentimes there's transaction data that might be very interesting if you want to ferret out the difference between stated preferences and realized preferences. It may be interesting if there's customer segmentation schemas that the client already has built. It may be interesting if you have text data from either the social media platforms that are out there or the online research communities that we have. And really, the sky is the limit. If you can conceive it as being relevant, whether it be macroeconomic data or whether it be, the New York Stock Exchange, closing level every day. Those are all different data points that if we think it's relevant to the problem, we'd at least like to try to include it. And the reason big data is funny for me is because clients don't struggle necessarily with what to do with the data they have. They struggle with what to do with the data they don't have or the data that's not in the right format. And those are the kind of problems we'll be helping them with, as well as helping them solve these bigger picture problems.
So, Jason, you came from Sigma, which obviously got a lot of attention over the last year or so with their very large funding.
There are two very large. Yeah.
Two very large. Did I miss one? I just pay attention to the $100 million one. Was there another one?
So are you talking about the Sequoia money, or are you talking about the MasterCard money?
I'm not sure. I forget who the funder was.
Anyway, they have plenty of money in the bank.
Right, they got a lot of money. So this idea of high-end analytics outsourcing, which is effectively, I think, the positioning of Mu Sigma. Of course, I've seen recently that they've decided to license some of their tools as well, which is kind of interesting too. Anyway, point is, what brought you from Mu Sigma into looking at this new area with Gongos? What attracted you to this particular opportunity?
So Gongos is in a very good position because they have their own primary research. There's really going to be three winners in this space when the dust settles. There's going to be the people that do it inexpensively, there's going to be the people that bring their own data to the table, and there's going to be the people that store the data. And so Gongos sits squarely in that second set of people that have their own data, whether it be building a perspective on what are Hispanics thinking across the United States and across North America, to the global platforms that we have for data gathering for General Motors, for instance. These are all very, very interesting and proprietary data sources that we could start to apply to different sources of problems. And so for me, the idea of taking what a lot of the frameworks that I helped build at Mu Sigma here and then leveraging existing data platforms just felt like a natural win.
All right, I used a great word there, one of my favorites recently, and that is frameworks. And this idea of that I've been thinking and writing about recently about common informational frameworks and how we apply that from a contextual standpoint to solve business issues within research. Is that a major part of the initiative from your standpoint, is to look at each of the client's business issues, establish that common informational framework, and then look at which data sources are most appropriate to help address those business needs?
Absolutely, Lenny. The key here is as much about getting clients to appreciate that we are learning together, as opposed to just coming in with a pre-assigned kind of, we're just going to stamp this out and do this service for you. So many of these questions are so large in nature. What is the value of an additional piece of content in a Chrysler vehicle? How do they really figure how much they should charge more for their car? That question is so boundless. And so sitting down with the client and actually walking them through the different ways that research can help them, but also what are the different ways that they need to be thinking about it. And that's why it's O2 integrated. Part of the framework is us integrating more deeply with the clients so we can help them really get to the business of thinking about the problem at a higher level, and we can do some of the heavy lifting to help them.
With that, I feel like this move is requiring a shift from the research supplier, right, us and anyone else who decides to go this route. But it's also going to require a shift from our client-side partners, because they have to be open to the idea of not looking at things as a point in time, or here's one question or set of questions, one set of objectives that we want to answer. It's looking at things much more holistically. So that's going to require, a different mindset shift from both parties to be able to actually accomplish that and accomplish it in a meaningful, productive way.
Yeah, I suspect that's a bit of a challenge. So how's that going? I mean, and it's interesting to use the automotive example. I know you guys do a lot of work in that sector. As we look at the Internet of Things developing, obviously automotive companies are sitting on more and more data that's actually based on the car itself, the consumer's interaction with that vehicle. Is that kind of the entry point that you're trying to build on? Of, look, you're getting this data, let us help you figure out how to utilize this in a broader context? Or are they resistant? Are there barriers from a siloed mentality? How's that going?
So one of the keys that we find, or that we're hinging this on, is that clients have so many sources of information, and they are still coming to primary researchers, right, to ask more questions. Part of this is helping our clients to get better ROI on the data that they already have. So starting there, looking at that information and adding primary research where it's necessary, but first looking at the information that they have, and that's helping them to see the benefit, of what we're trying to provide, because it's not just going for there's more questions out there that we have to ask and get answers to.
So what does that do from I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
So I was just going to answer your question with a yes. There are a lot of challenges, and yes, there are a lot of silos, and yes, it will require a new way of thinking for both clients and how we talk to our clients to make sure that they're asking the right questions. More often than not, by the time a problem makes its way down to a RFP for us, it's been framed to such a degree that coming back and asking some of these basic questions about, well, wait, is this really what you want, or is this really what you want? They're like, no, just respond to the RFP the way it is.
Right.
And so
right.
There's going to be an inherent amount of pushback that is, and it won't be for everybody, frankly. It's going to be for the clients that are looking for partners that are really going to help them think differently and extend their, their decision support.
Oh, it certainly moves you up the value chain from the research supplier into starting to rub elbows with McKinsey's and those folks of the world, moving into this space, which I applaud you. I mean, this is a very bold move, and one that it's interesting that you didn't see this play coming from one of the larger research companies. The big boys, the big three, an Ipsos or Nielsen or Kantar, and for Gongos to show this leadership of what's really amounts to a fairly radical repositioning of the company, at least longer term. I understand that today that's not necessarily the case. This is a transition process. That takes some guts. So what kind of led you to think, we need to make this happen, and we're going to start this ball rolling and see where we get to? Where was the starting point of thinking about this, Camille?
I think the answer to that is varied, but I think the number one answer is that as a company, we look at the trends not just from a industry perspective, but from a societal perspective, right? And the writing is on the wall in terms of the vast amount of information that's out there that our colleagues in the research industry are faced with making sense of every day. And as I mentioned at the beginning, your very first question, part of our job is to figure out new and different ways that we can be adding value for our clients. Not just looking at this as how do we play in the marketing research industry, but how do we continuously add value for our clients. And we're seeing our clients struggle with all of the different information sources that they are faced with. And that is probably the number one key challenge that we're trying to help our clients solve. We're not moving away from ad hoc research. This O2 integrated is a piece of the puzzle for us and a much larger scheme of what we hope to provide for our clients. Ad hoc research is a perfect complement, or O2 integrated is a perfect complement to our ad hoc research business, and we see those two things living very well together to help us to create success for our clients. We're also looking at this as an opportunity to attract new high-quality talent into the decision intelligence space. The types of talent that we're going to need to be successful in this O2 integrated practice area of ours. It's the perfect blend, as Jason says, of business, math, and technology. So that brings new opportunities for the folks here at Gongos and new opportunities to be looking at different sources of talent to bring into our industry. And that we see as a huge win, not just for us, but for everyone in the industry.
Again, hats off. I am absolutely impressed with with this direction. For whatever that's worth, you didn't ask my opinion, but it's I think it's the coolest thing that I've seen in a long time. So, Jason, when you think about a company like Gongos entering into this space, and then obviously to an extent competing with larger consulting organizations or companies like Mu Sigma, why are you placing your bet with a research company when there's some barriers in terms of the relationship and the structure of the value chain versus one of the more established organizations that may have had an easier path to transition into this model?
So when I joined Mu Sigma, it was a fifth the size of Gongos. So probably I have a little bit of bootstrapping and startup in my DNA. So there's just a natural affinity there. Further to that, there isn't really a clear-cut path to winning in this space. This comes down to really getting with your clients and being naked and talking a little bit about what we do know and what we don't know, and getting them to reveal what they do know and what they don't know, and then working through the problems together. As far as challenges that are organic to Gongos, for example, sure, I would love it if there was 100 extra applied mathematicians right now sitting downstairs. But they have a strong marketing sciences department. So, we're going to have to grow that organization. As far as their ability to innovate in the areas of, what happened? Can you still see me?
Yes.
So as far as their ability to innovate in the areas of mobile, in the areas of online research, in the areas of technology in general, they've shown a tremendous amount of forethought. And so then the last piece of the puzzle, if you want to talk about business, technology, and math, is the business piece of it. And so I hope I can mention his name, but Ed Dobbles was always very, very respectful of the work that Gongos did, and he's someone that I had pitched to a long time ago, known him for a long time, and he gave me 2 thumbs up, and his word is good by me.
Good old Ed.
So Ed's going to be getting something under the Christmas tree this year then.
Right, a little.
Yeah. So obviously we're in the early stages of this, and I hope that we'll be able to continue to stay engaged and let us know how it's going. To reiterate one more time, I just think this is very cool and it's very exciting, and I can't wait to see how all this plays out. With kind of that in mind, as we wrap up, where do you see what are some of the critical milestones that you need to cross over the next 2 years to prove the model that O2 integrated as a component of Gongos is the right way to go? What are you looking for? What are the hallmarks of success? Besides making money. That's an easy one. So
I think the number one hallmark for success for us is that we have clients who are engaged and believe in what O2 integrated can provide. I mean, Gongos' business model is to go deep within our client organizations. And for us, this is one more step in expanding that relationship with our clients. So the number one hallmark to success is going to be that path continues for us. It's also getting it integrated into our organization. We're doing a great job with that so far. It feels like a natural transition to us. And again, that goes back to knowing what our core competencies are and not going out of that natural core competency set for us. So those are 2 things that I would say we'll be judging this by.
No, I think some of it just comes down to how quickly organizations realize that the problems that we can help clients solve are inherently going to be unstructured. That coming to us with an RFP every single time that they have a question, they don't need to do that. That they'll be able to come to us and say, hey, I was just thinking about this. Can you help us think about this? And we can, like you said, move up the value chain a bit, but really position ourselves within the client as an advisor as opposed to just an order taker. And that'll take a little bit of time because they themselves are going to have to look a little differently at themselves and say, well, wait a minute. If these guys aren't, taking the order, what do I need to be thinking about? And so there will be some evolution there, but that's what I'm looking for.
Well, I trust that we'll make time to be able to chat further on down the road, and I'm going to ask you how we're doing on hitting those milestones. But I think this is just wonderful, which I've repeated multiple times, so I will not say it again. Is there anything else that you want to tell the rest of the industry, folks that may be watching, about O2 integrated and about Gongos?
Is that everything there?
Yeah. It's,
think we're good?
Call me.
Oh, wait, you know what? So that is an interesting question. Let's throw that out there. So, and then we can wrap up. Are you open to working with other research companies that are trying to offer more value to their client relationships as well, or are you solely focused on your own primary client relationships?
I think to start, it's going to be on our primary client relationships, but that is not to say that we aren't open to the idea of consulting with or helping other research companies grow into this space. At Gongos, we are all about helping the industry move forward, not just in it for ourselves. So for sure, that's something that we would entertain in the future.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, thank you very much for your time. This has been great, and look forward to hearing more and more about how this all progresses.
Thanks so much,
Thanks
Lenny.
so much.
We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
The conference call is now ending.